Welcome back to Pilots Watching Pilots. Today we got a special episode. You wanted Roseanne? Aha! We're doing Smackdown with special guest K-Zone. Give me a hell yeah!
That's right, WWE Smackdown, April 29th, 1999 on UPN. That's not even a network anymore. Let me introduce you to my new partner here, K-Zone.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
All right.
We've been talking about wanting to do a wrestling episode. We're both big WWE fans. We could have done WWE Raw, which is considered their flagship program. However, the original episode of Raw came out in the early 90s. Wrestling sucked back then. This Smackdown started in 1999, April 29th, right at the peak of the Attitude Era. It was a great time for wrestling, so much going on. It was much more edgy than it had ever been before. It was part of mainstream pop culture, so it seemed like the right fit for us. We wanted to do something exciting. So, Mike, what do you say we
Break it down.
break it down? All right, Mike, let's say we get right into this. Let's talk about SmackDown.
All right. This episode was big for them. There was a lot to it. The ministry is alive and it's a thing. There's just title defenses. There's a lot of fun stuff that they don't necessarily do on every Raw at the time. And they were making this a big show. They wanted to make a big splash with this very special episode. And if I'm not wrong, SmackDown didn't officially air until months later after this. So this was truly the pilot of SmackDown. Filmed on a Raw set. This wasn't even its own show yet, really.
Right. I guess WWE was essentially testing the waters of a second weekly program with their A-team, so to speak.
Yeah, they brought the heat on this one for sure. Everyone was all hands on deck.
That's a good pun, because Heat was around for a while before that on Sunday nights.
And it failed. It was not great.
It wasn't. It kind of set up things for Raw, but SmackDown was its own distinct product, 2-hour show just like Raw. They didn't air live. It was taped a few days before.
Yeah.
It was obviously a success because in August it became a weekly program.
And The Rock arrives.
So the first segment of the show was a recap. First of all, this is coming off the heels of Backlash, which happened 1 month after WrestleMania 15. There was also a very big angle on the Raw before it where the Ministry of Darkness, led by The Undertaker, had abducted Vince McMahon's daughter, Stephanie, and had her take part in this strange satanic wedding.
Dearly and beloved.
This episode was different. They come out in the beginning and they're showing their strength, but they don't look very strong.
No, it was Shane, Triple H, Chyna, the Big Boss Man, and the Mean Street Posse.
Yeah.
If you know who that is, it's a couple guys in sweater vests. One of them looks like their dad might have lost all his money in Enron or some shit. I just thought it was a joke, but all right.
Absolutely, he totally did.
Groove it.
There was a match going on between Val Venus and Jeff Jarrett. Interfering, as had often been the case over the previous months, was the Blue Blazer. Now, if you don't know who the Blue Blazer is, it was a character portrayed by Owen Hart about 10 years before. For several months leading up to this, Owen Hart is dressed as the Blue Blazer and kept saying, "Oh, I'm not the Blue Blazer," even though it obviously was him.
Michael, you know as well as I do, that's Owen Hart under that mask.
The really sad thing is about a month after this occurred, there was a tragic incident at Over the Edge where Owen Hart passed away from an accident where the Blue Blazer was supposed to come down from the ceiling. The harness failed. He died. And this is not wrestling. This is real, folks. So that was a very sad thing that happened about a month later. So we saw Blue Blazer and we're like, oh, we see how this is going to end.
Yeah, and another sad bit for me was the next match. Right away, we see D'Lo Brown versus Droz.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh my God, Droz ended up wrestling D'Lo Brown in a match later and ended up suffering a neck injury and being paralyzed for the rest of his life. He worked for the company for a long time after that and still was a part of it, but could never wrestle again, never recover from that. So those were kind of the sad parts. Let's get some humor in here, though.
Oh, well, speaking of that, Droz was accompanied by a man making his debut in WWE, who we know as Albert or A-Train or Tensai in later years. But when he made his debut as a cohort of Draws, he was known as Prince Albert. And if you saw this guy and you know what a Prince Albert is, you're pretty sure what the illusion is. He had piercings here, and piercings somewhere else.
It just defines, Prince Albert, the character, defines the Attitude Era for me as one of the best examples of Vince McMahon just being the main guy and saying, let's stop doing what my dad did and what I used to try to do, where I just pointed at a guy and say, hey, you're this, you're going to be this. And they went with it because they had ideas of what characters should be, and him getting straight nuts and asking for suggestions from the wrestlers and then running with it, and then him just going nuts on it. I could see him, I don't know if this is a real clip, but I could see him in there saying, Prince Albert, let's see it. Let's see your Prince Albert. He's got one. And just going absolutely nuts on everyone. And then Vince looking at it and saying, that's his gimmick. All right, next. And then he picked it, and that's what he went with.
Yeah.
Those kind of things happen all the time. We all saw famously how he picked Draws and his puke character and stuff.
He's gotta puke! He's gotta puke!
Next, we had easily the worst segment for me in the show.
It was rough.
The Brood segment. I forgot about the Brood.
The Brood is awesome, by the way. We love the Brood. The Brood
Yeah.
has one of the coolest entrances. Essentially,
Yeah.
they have a gothic lifestyle. They're vampires,
And
right?
at the time, Gothic. You go back in
in.
time and you look at Kurt in 1997, 98, he's pretty goth.
Well, I was just naturally pale and had long hair, and I couldn't do
Fit.
anything about that. But Buffy the Vampire Slayer,
Was
and
it?
a lot of that stuff was very in vogue.
Yes.
It was a perfect time for the Brood. Gangrel himself was very into the vampire lifestyle. He actually had his teeth sharpened, so he literally looks like a vampire.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately,
Edge, he just smiled the whole time and was very creepy.
Yeah,
And he
he's like,
ended
"We're the
it.
sons
He
of the
ended
night."
with beware, take care, because the freaks come out at night.
It was so bad.
It was so cheesy.
we are who we are.
Kurt, I want you to do me a favor since you're quite a bit taller than me. If you could just reach upstairs real quick, hit that flight attendant button. Ryan's not here, we're going to say that. I need a stiffer drink. These are going down like water, these Steve Weisers we're doing right now. We thought he drank Coors Light, but then we saw that he was doing Bud Light at the time.
He mixed it up.
He
depending on
always
what
did
city
different
they were in.
beers. Yeah. And
Natty
so,
Light, Coors Light, Bud Light.
Yeah,
Whatever's available. Stone Cold don't discriminate.
These are tasting good, but I need something a little stiffer.
Hit that button.
Ryan? All right.
It's not my name.
That was good.
K-Zone, what are we drinking today?
We're drinking some Deep Eddy. I've got the sweet tea.
I've got the clear tea. I don't know what clear tea is.
I made the right decision.
It's just regular vodka, I believe. But you know what? I'll live with it.
It's from Austin, Texas, by the way, in honor of our boy Stone Cold Steve Austin. So cheers to him. Cheers to SmackDown. Cheers to WWE.
Let's get these down.
Oh.
Oh, that Eddie went deep on me, for sure. K-Zone is a trivia host, and you got to go see him host. I thought it'd be fun for our fun facts to shoot K-Zone a couple trivia questions.
All right.
He's gonna know them probably. He knows them all, but let's give him a couple. Who's the longest reigning champ in SmackDown history?
Gotta be. Started in 2004. He was featured on the initial episode. JBL Bradshaw, longest reigning champion in SmackDown
That's
history.
true.
Look out, look out, look out!
Do you recommend people watch this? I think I know your answer. I might have a little guess here, but should people watch it and why?
Well, I'm gonna quote Stone Cold Steve Austin and say, "Oh hell yeah!" If you're a wrestling fan, quite frankly, even if you're not a wrestling fan, this is a good way to introduce yourself to the product. WWE was at its peak at this time. 1999, wrestling was fantastic. It had riveting characters. It was a bit edgier than it is now, or had ever been before, but the greatest characters in wrestling history were around. The main event was Stone Cold and The Rock against The Undertaker and Triple H. easily the top 4 stars in WWE during the Attitude Era, which was their most successful time.
Yeah, easily. I mean, that was huge. That whole main event was their biggest stars on Showcase, which is like, again, why they just, to me, I was so impressed how they went all in on SmackDown, saying, this is something we want to do.
Yeah.
This is something we're going to do and continue to push here. And it worked. It obviously worked. They're still doing it.
And no wonder it got picked up. Started in August, a weekly show. 20 years later, it's still around. So SmackDown is almost as iconic as Raw.
It's nowhere to be found.
It really was the rise of the anti-hero. Stone Cold Steve Austin, very anti-authority. The Rock, smart mouth all the time. Guys like The Godfather, he was a pimp. Val Venus, a porn star. These were the heroes. Degeneration X told everybody to suck it.
Yeah.
Every week. And the fans ate it up. People loved it.
I got in so much trouble in high school for telling everyone to suck it. Like, can you imagine now suck it being a phrase? I mean, you can't do that kind of shit. Are you kidding me? Like, I used to go around high school, teacher would be like, hey, did anyone do their book report? Some kid would just stand up and go, suck it. Like, it was nuts. Wrestling was that popular. Everywhere in the country, you had people of all ages, races, everything screaming, suck it. It was nuts. YouTube wasn't around to catch it, but man, that would have been entertaining.
Great times. I love the 90s.
All right.
Late 90s.
Well, let's bring Ryan back on board here and have him land the plane. I don't know how to land it. I don't know what to do.
That's the episode. Thanks for watching. Be sure you like and subscribe before I drop you on that stack of dimes you call a neck. Give me a hell yeah!